Welcome to the first 2-5 session of the vlog. We're starting out with 800. The cap is 1,000, so I'm a little bit short of the max, but I'm deciding to start from here and build it up. So I'm in the cutoff with pocket sevens. I raised it up to 20 and it folds to the small blind. He's a nit and he just raises it up to 65. Now, I don't really love this spot because I know that he either has ace king, aces, kings, or queens, so I'm not doing too great against those hands. But one thing about a nit, if you hit your hand, they're not going to get rid of theirs, so you're guaranteed to get a double up. So I decided to take a price in position and I call, and the flop comes 9 deuce deuce with 2 clubs. So he initially bets 85, which is a pretty good sized bet on the flop. So when it gets to me, I'm thinking that if he has ace king and I raise, he'll fold. So I don't have to raise very much. So I raise it up to 200, knowing that I'm folding out ace king. And if he has aces or kings, he'll either jam or just call, and then I'll know I'm beat. So he ends up going the route of jamming on me for 800 total, 600 more to me. And so I start to level myself thinking, man, is he really trying to run this big bluff with me with ace king? And I thought, no. When I first started this hand, I said that he either has ace king, aces, kings, or queens. So the fact that he's jamming lets me know that it's the kings or aces. So I take a second and I fold face up, and he's lucky that I didn't hit my 7 because he did have pocket king. So if I would have flopped my set, he guaranteed would have paid me off if I would have jammed on him. But anyways, it sucks to kind of lose this much on the first hand, but we have plenty of time to build it back up. Let's get it. Not to toot my own horn, but I feel like in this hand, I show how to go for max value where most poker players don't. So I'm in the low jack, and I raise to 30 with the straddle, and only he calls. So the flop is queen, queen, 7, and he checks, and I decide to bet 30. He sticks in the call, and then on the turn, it is a 6. So he checks to me, and I go ahead and put another bet of 55. He also calls. So the river is a deuce. Now this is where most people will be happy to get the showdown, getting called twice here, scared of a queen. So he checks to me though, and I decided to put out a very big bet of 175. And I don't love it because he says, well, if you have a queen, you have a queen, and then he calls. But I show my king 7, he shows 6-7. So we end up winning a very big pot in a lot of places where most poker players would just go check check on the river. So let me know if that was too thin of a bet or if you actually like my play. Alright, so in the last hand I showed y'all how going for thin value can pay off. Now I'm going to show you the other side of it. So in this hand I have Jack 5 suited, it limps around, and so we're off to the flop, which comes Jack Queen 3 with 2 spades. So I decided to lead into the field with a pair and flush draw for 15, and I get 2 callers. So now we get instantly rewarded with the 10 of spades, so we hit our flush. And now I decided to step up the betting a little bit, so I bet 40. And now I get 2 callers, so I'm still a little bit alarmed, but since nobody raised, I'm still feeling like I have the best hand. And even though the river is a board pairing 3, I decided to put out a bigger bet as well and wait till somebody raises, and then I'll consider folding. So I bet 110. One person folds and the other person puts in a call, and I show the jack high flush, and I am surprised when he shows me the king high flush. So it was a good thing that he didn't raise the turn, because I definitely would have called. But that just shows you that sometimes you're going to value own yourself. But in this game, if you don't value own yourself, sometimes that means you're not going for that thin value when you do have the best hand and it goes check check on the river and you win. So I'm not mad at my play. It's just unfortunate I ran into a better hand. What do y'all think about that play? Was it too thin, or you think sometimes you just got to go for it? All right, so this one's a pretty quick hand, but it's just kind of showing like how to play range versus range sometimes. So I have king 4 of diamonds in the cutoff, and I raised to 20, and only the button behind me calls. So the flop is 9-7-5 with 1 diamond. So he bets 20 after I check, and I decided to call, and the turn is an ace. So now I decide to lead out for 55, and he shows me top pair and he folds. So even though if he was a little bit better player, he would still understand that he could still have a better hand than I could have, but that ace scares a lot of people when you're the pre-flop raiser. So that's why I decided to go ahead and lead out, and you see he quickly folds. Alright, y'all gonna have to strap in your seatbelt because this is a huge hand. So I have pocket kings in the cutoff. I raise to 25, and I get two callers, the small blind and the low jack. So the flop comes king, deuce, five, rainbow. So boom, we hit top set. So when the small blind checks and the low jack checks, I could be putting in a bet, but I feel like I have this hand pretty much crushed. There's no flush draws, not too many straight draws out there. So I check as well, and the turn we get the three of spades. So now there's a flush draw out there, and it also brings in ace four for the wheel. So now the small blind decides to bet 30, the low jack calls, and now with a good draw on the board, I decide to raise it up to 125. The small blind calls, the low jack folds. So now I'm just looking for a clean river card, and we get it in the jack of clubs. So the small blind checks to me, and I give it maybe a 5 second Hollywood, and then I just decide to go all in for his effective stack of 335. And he doesn't snap call, so I know that he doesn't have a straight. So now I'm just hoping he calls because I know I have the best hand. So he thinks about it for about, I'd say, a minute, and he finally decides to put in the call. And I show my top set, and he mucks his hand. And it's always a great feeling when you stack somebody, you send them to the ATM, and they come back thinking they're going to get you back. So let's go, come and get some. All right, so in this hand, it's just another kind of hand to show you the flow of a poker session. So the opener raises to 15, and there's three callers in front of me. So I decided it's a perfect time to squeeze, and I decided to raise to 100. I could be more because there's so many other players in the hand, but I know that a lot of players, they see a $100 raise, 3-bet, they're going to want to get out the way unless they have a strong hand. So I raised it up to 100. And things do not go as planned as the player behind me in the small blind decides to rip it all in right in my face. So I kind of stuck my hand in it. Well, I definitely stuck my hand in it. So everyone folds. And when it comes around to me, I don't take no time. I don't Hollywood. I snap forward. I was making a play, and I'm not about to sit here and act like I wasn't. And he shows me he had ace king suited. So sometimes that happens in poker. You got to make your squeezes to kind of take down a bunch of dead money, because if everyone would have folded, I would have taken down about 60 of dead money without seeing a flop. But unfortunately, it was just the wrong time, and a guy woke up with a hand better than mine right behind me. So it is what it is, but just wanted to show you sometimes the hands that happen in poker that, aren't really that glamorous. All right, so we have another big hand here. We have ace queen in the small blind. The action starts with middle position, who raises to 25. The cutoff calls, and when it gets to me, this is a slam dunk 3-bet. But I get gun shy for some reason, and I just call, and that brings in the under the gun limper. So we're going 4 ways to the flop, which comes king, 8, 9, rainbow. So I'm done with this hand, but it actually checks all the way around. Now the turn is an ace of diamond, so it gives me top pair, top kicker, but it also brings in the backdoor draw. So now I lead out for 55, and it folds to MP, who calls, which that doesn't mean anything because he's just splashing around having fun. So I'm not worried about him calling. But now the cutoff calls, which I don't really love to see, and I really don't like the river. It's the 8 of diamonds, so now it completes the draw. But I still decide to go ahead and put out a big bet of 175. MP quickly folds now. And when it gets to the cutoff, he is tanking for a while. And he's taking so long that I feel like my hand just has to be good. So he finally decides to put in the call. I show ace queen, and he actually shows that he was tanking with a jack high flush. So wasn't really expecting it to take that long for him to call with that. But sometimes you get nit rolled, and it is what it is. And I know we were talking about value owning, but I definitely know I value own myself. There was no reason for me to bet that river, because somebody could easily have a flush or 3 of a kind. So there's really no reason for me to bet there, but you live and you learn. Next hand. All right, so you ever got to that session where you were down and then you were back up and then you find yourself down again and you're just frustrated? I guess tilt, you could call it. And I was just like, all right, whenever I see a hand that I can go all in with, I'm just going to try to do my best to do it. So I'm on the button with pocket jacks, and I raise to 50. The small blind calls, and then the big blind, he comes out of nowhere and raises to 175. So of course, this is not exactly what you want to see, but I'm already committed to putting my whole stack in there. So when I see that 175 bet, there's nothing left for me to do. I want to see all 5 cards, so I jam with pocket jacks. for 600, and the small blind is in between us, and he decides that it's not good to be monkey in the middle, so he goes ahead and folds, and now it's just me and the big blind going heads up. I got jacks, and he says he has aces. Yikes. So obviously I'm not in a good spot. The only good thing is the monkey in the middle guy folded ace king, so one of his aces is gone. So now we have about a 22% chance to win, and I have my favorite dealer, Dylan. So let's see what happens. And what would you know, we flop top set. The flop is jack, 7, deuce. The turn is a queen, and the river is a 3. So we show the top set. He mucks his aces, and he actually goes and takes a walk. He had me covered. He's just lucky that I normally would top up, but I didn't because I already said I was leaving. So that's why I wanted just to jam it in when I only had like 600 and tilted. So it is what it is. We went from down about 200 to up about 400 just like that. And I had already called time, so I played maybe 2 or 3 hands just as a courtesy. But then I hit the cage and I cash out. What a great way to end the session. All right, y'all, that was a crazy session. As you see, I'm in the safest place ever in a casino, empty parking lot. But anyways, we was up, we was down, we was in the game for 800, ended up cashing out for 1050 after giving tips to the dealers and stuff. So that's a profit of 250. It's always great when you down a lot to suck out jacks versus aces and spike a jack on the flop and hold the rest of the way. So y'all like, comment, and subscribe. If y'all have any recommendations I want me to do that, please. And we're gonna play a few more 2-5 sessions, but probably sometime by the end of next month, I'm gonna jump up to 5-10 and get some footage from me playing that. So y'all stay tuned and holla.